So when it comes to generative AI and AI generally, there's kind of two ways in which products look to be adopting AI. The first way is what I call generalized interfaces. These generalized interfaces are a little like, they're modeled after the ChatGPT approach, which was what we saw 1 year ago. They're effectively a QA, a kind of a chatbot type thing. You ask the AI something, it gives you a response, it gives you a set of options on your response, you ask it something else. So effectively, it's based on the idea of prompt engineering, which is the de rigueur kind of, phrase that people use to describe this stuff. And the better you get at prompting the AI and building up a context, the better the outcome. So it does, to a large extent, depend on the skill level of the person prompting. It reminds me of the old days when Google came along first. Prior to that, there was things called Yahoo Search and Alta Vista and various other things in the 90s. Google came along. It was a much better quality outcome as long as you knew how to ask it in the right way. So this is a much more specialized version. So in effect, this prompt stuff, anybody who's played with generative AI and played with ChatGPT or Bard or the multiple other ones around will realize that you get better at it. It's a skill. It's almost akin to coding in words. It's just kind of how I think about it. And that generalized interface will be as good or as bad as the person putting in the prompt. So by definition, it's not that repeatable or systematic, it's particularly in a corporate context. So if you think about life and people in general, everybody falls somewhere along the bell curve. That's the old famous one that kind of goes up and comes and plateaus and comes down. So either you're on the middle of the bell curve or you're on the right or you're on the left in terms of capability or skill level. So the ChatGPT interfaces are incredibly powerful in the right hands with people who know how to prompt well. So that's a generalized interface, and that's hugely important. Specialized interfaces, which is the second category of how products will kind of evolve, are really where you're ring fencing the AI with typically user interface. So great example of that is Adobe Photoshop, where how it works is, let's say you get an old picture that isn't quite, it needs to be touched up a little bit. It's got an incomplete, a torn piece, etc. You kind of draw around that piece and you say to the product, complete that piece, fill out that piece. So you have a job to be done. You have a task that you're trying to do, and you tell the AI via a button click to do that thing. It's not prompt based. It's not a kind of a, type it in plain language. It's actually a button that is specific to a job or for a job to be done. That type of AI is kind of a more specialized interface. It's much tighter coupled to the job that needs doing. Microsoft Copilot is a good example of that. There's lots of solutions that are like that. And typically those solutions are already out there, and those solutions are actually already doing jobs without the need for generative AI. Because guess what? There's a ton of software out there. This myth that kind of AI is going to replace a lot of software, which was prevalent maybe in the first few months of the ChatGPT revolution. Fortunately, now there's a little bit more realism out there. We used to get questions, for instance, well, will this kill VisibleThread? Will it reduce your product to nothing because it does everything your product does? And that was a very naive, poor understanding of what generative AI is and what is not. It's a bit like saying, well, actually, Gen AI is going to kill Microsoft or it's going to kill Salesforce. It doesn't make any sense. You still need databases. You still need standard algorithmic approaches to all product software. And in this second type of specialized situation, Adobe Photoshop adds AI capabilities. Intercom messaging adds AI capabilities. VisibleThread adds AI capabilities to do a much better job in certain specific jobs or certain specific tasks that a user needs to do. So that's our context. That's how we feel, and that's how we see AI evolving. One, more generalized interfaces, and two, specialized interfaces. We as VisibleThread are more leaning on the specialized interfaces. We are very clear on what the jobs that we help our customers do are, and we're very clear equally on the areas in which generative AI will impact in an extremely positive way our customers.